Hi, August Siri here, and welcome to another solo bass set here, all instrumental bass pieces written specifically for solo bass. And as always, this will become a conversion reshare to add into my Reels folder on my timeline for my social media, and it'll be shared out to my YouTube channel, Hard Rock Vermont, of course, as always. This latest set is really kind of a culmination written specifically for this bass, really, the American Vintage 2 54 reissue. And why is that? Because my other P bass that I use, that you've seen me out live with, you've seen me out live with this one too, but you know, out on stage in front of people is what I mean by that. This is live, but you know what I mean. So the difference is I've been starting to write specific pieces of music for how a particular instrument plays. You know, my main P bass, the American Professional 2 series, is a more versatile bass than this one, with a different playability, much more versatile. You can use it for modern or old. This is really just old school, you know. Real thumpy, mud thumper. I've got the treble almost all the way up just because I don't want the recording to fart out. This has so much mud and low end thump. When I'm not even using any of the nanny controls. This is just direct, everything at detent and the volume down as low as possible, you know, because I don't want, it will overdrive my microphone. I've learned through experience I had to get rid of another set because of that with this bass. Also with Cream Dream, and yes, his name is Cream Dream, is I got some detail pieces. Basically what I did was I went to the hardware store and I said, there's got to be something I can do to dress that up, you know. So I took the original, I had to order some from USA Fender Direct, the actual screws that go into the plates. I have those with the plates in my case. But because this bass plays so much better without them, even though it looks cooler with them, I didn't want the holes to be showing. Just for aesthetics, really, more than functionality at all, really. But the functionality part of it is no plates, because I need access to all parts of these strings, all positioning with my, and with those plates, you can only play here. That's it. You know, I like doing that throaty position there, or thumb, you know, technique, but that's it. That's all you can do with the plates, unfortunately. So I just picked up some chrome washers from the hardware store, which are about the same thickness as the plates, so you don't have to, you know, go down in any deeper with the stock screws. And what I did was I put them in there, found ones that would fit these Fender screws that fit this. They're for this bass. They're not just any screws. Yes, there is a difference because they're beveled underneath and rounded on top, and they look exactly like the other ones. That's the difference for aesthetics purposes. And so it looks a lot better, I think, with the little washers on there. Looks more professional. And you can't see the pilot holes for the plates. So if you ever want to go back to plates, you just take these off, put the plates back in, then you won't even see that anyways. But I think I'm going to leave it like this, probably permanently, and just keep the plates, you know, the original plates that came with the bass a year ago when I bought it, you know. I think it's been over a year now. But yeah, Cream Dream here is really a unique animal in that it is very excellent, top quality woods and materials and electronics. Original schematic from the 54 P bass, pre-CBS, of course. That's what this is blueprinted from, on the exact same machines that were the original ones were made on in California. So yeah, amazing bass. And again, it's limited because it does not have the playability of a regular or any modern P bass or jazz bass at all. But it's not, that's not what it's about with this bass. It has its own character, its own vintage character and vibe that other basses cannot produce unless they're one of these, you know. So that's why I like the 50s style P basses too. You know, I mean, as far as my main P bass, it has to be the Pro 2 because it's just so much more, you know, the playability is better. You can use it in a lot of different genres of music, where this one's pretty much blues, classic rock, bluegrass, country. That's about it. That's about it, man. Yeah. Use this in anything modern, it will work. But my main Professional 2 series, USA P bass, is much better for that. It has a much more powerful sound to it. This has a single wound, from the 54, and I don't know. It's just it just has its own vibe, and really that's what I've been doing for my solo bass pieces lately, is writing specifically for this bass or my other one, instead of just you know what I mean, instead of just writing a piece and then whatever, play whatever bass. No, I'm writing specifically for how these basses play. Like, this is more groove orientated, riffs over groove and stuff like that. Or my other bass is too, but I can get more aggressive with that one. My main P bass, I can get a bit more aggressive because the playability is actually quite a bit better as far as the speed of the neck. It's a much faster playing P bass, even though it has more of a baseball bat neck, 60 style P bass. I think it's modeled after the 63, but yeah. But just the sound, the V-Mod split coil has a different vibe to it, and you can use it in all different genres, pretty much. Where this one, like the 4 I mentioned, that's about it. Well, actually, 5, you could use it in rockabilly, it would work for rockabilly. Anything old, like Buddy Holly, I don't know, man, the list goes on. Hank Williams, the original Hank Williams, George Jones, the old country classics, Johnny Cash, who's my favorite of all time country artists. This works for all of that stuff. Patsy Cline, any of that, this works awesome for that stuff. And for, like I said, even like older Cream songs, even though I know Jack Bruce did not use one of these, he used an old Gibson, like EBO, and then there's another one too he used. And then he used a Warwick as well later on. Warwick Fretless or something like that. But either way, Hendrix, I mean, obviously this works great for Hendrix. Any kind of groove and orientated heavy groove bass lines, this works excellent for, which is mostly older classic stuff, For modern world, you got to be a bit more, I mean, you still have the grooves and all that, but I think that it's just a better, well-rounded, any Professional 2 series, or custom shop. When you jump up the custom shop, like with my Les Paul, I have 2 Les Pauls. One's a standard Gibson and the other is a master built custom shop. There is a difference in the quality there. And the same with this. This is a vintage 2. This is only one step down from custom shop or pre-CBS. So this one's one step down. The only thing left to get would be get a custom shop. I mean, these are very close. The vintage 2, they also have a 66 jazz bass in the vintage 2 series. That's very close to custom shop and original piece, because they're done on the same machines. Like I said, the same schematic, the same everything. The electronics, everything's designed right down to the last screw, to like they were in materials too, and the logos and just everything is done exactly, which is really cool. I mean, I know I've mentioned this probably 50 times before, but really a cool thing. And I've been writing certain pieces of music just for this vintage 2 P bass, because it just has that vibe. It makes you inspired to write a certain way to kind of fit the vibe of that instrument. And that's what I've been doing for this one for a while now, actually. I just had to get my sound a little more dialed in better for the recordings, because there's so much thick mud and bottom end with this. Between this 500 watt solid state Fender Rumble amplifier and this mud thumper with the flat wounds, you've got more mud here than a swamp, thick, juicy mud. It sounds great here, but it doesn't record so well live. Not with my 1080p cam. I'd have to have like an upper end GoPro or a Zoom with the decibel deadening software built into the mic, so it cuts down. I don't have that, But anyways, thanks for joining me. I just wanted to do a little pause here before I finish the set. Joining me tonight, it's about 7 p.m. Easter actually was yesterday, so happy post-Easter for everyone after the holiday. And I have a few more pieces, and then we'll call it good for tonight. Thanks for joining me. Also, check out my soundstage stuff. I reposted one of them recently for my guitar and vocal work with my new system. That's it sounds really good over there. Well, I mean, you can hear it in fruition if you go on the videos. And I guess that's about it for updates, other than working on my solo project live show version with cover songs. If that, I don't know with the ETA. It just depends on when I'm ready with my schedule to do it, and that, I know I'm ready musically. It's like I can't, I could go do it now. It's just getting all the ducks in a row. That's really what it is. And then business contacts and the annoying phone calls over and over that have to begin in order for you to book an act, steady any kind of act, because I'm targeting different venues this time. So that's in the works. More original hard rock is always in the works. I've got new soundstage stuff coming at you all, folks. Coming at you all this year, 2026. We're heading into where are we at here? April. So we're in the first week of April here. 2026 is when this is actually filmed. But those are the updates I'll give verbally. Sometimes I give them on posts. Sometimes I'll give them verbally or whatever. But so all my fans who follow my work know what's going on. So there you go. So we'll get JJ up and running here. I got those sit-down session solo bass for all of you juicy morsels for you bass heads out there. Let's go. piece for tonight's set. Again, folks, thank you, because I'm not going to stop, and I'm just going to close you all out after the piece. So thank you all for joining me once again. We'll catch you all in the next one. I am August Siri. And from the bottom of my black heart, I thank all of you for joining me.